My name is Helen Redout. This is my home and in Outlook, Washington. We have been cherry farmers for over 50 years now. When my husband passed away in 2004, we owned 57 acres of cherries up there. Farming is a beautiful thing to do if it's done correctly.
The second you pull off the highway, you hit dairies so big that you wouldn't even recognize them as dairies. And you just pass one after another, after another. There's manure all over the road. There's manure being sprayed in the fields. And by the time you get to these clients' houses, you're already sick of it. So imagine being them for the past 20 years.
We always open our windows in this house because we don't have air conditioning, and then the coolness of the night will cool the house. Well, we'd done that this night, and all of a sudden, just in the middle of the night, it was just, I just jumped out of the bed because it smelled so bad.
The fundamental problem is there are too many animals on too few acres. They were disposing of manure. They weren't just land applying it, they were using the land as a means of disposal.
When that manure seeps through the soil and it enters the groundwater, it contaminates it. You have bacteria, you have nitrates, and the big problem with nitrates, of course, is that it causes blue baby syndrome. It also goes up in the air. It smells bad, it creates flies, it creates really dangerous chemicals like hydrogen sulfide.
My well is right out there, and I could not drink the water from that well. It tests 17 parts per million of contaminants, nitrates essentially. 10 parts per million is considered by the health department to be unfit for human consumption. In order to drink my own well water, I had to go get a reverse osmosis machine. I'm putting out money each month to drink my well water because they are irresponsible.
In this case, our clients were an environmental group called the Community Association for Restoration of the Environment, but we call them CARE. They want access to clean water. They want to have a barbecue without being chased out by the stench. They want to have a graduation party for their child without being embarrassed to have people over. Most industries figure out ways to deal with their waste responsibly, but I think these industries just started digging holes in the ground.
The early cases were brought under the Clean Water Act for discharges of manure to surface waters. When you start looking at the underground aspects of clean water, which is what we did here, it becomes much more complicated. It becomes much more fact-intensive, more expert-intensive, more data-intensive. There had never been a citizen suit brought to fruition under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act against a concentrated animal feeding operation before in the country. And so it was something that we knew would face a huge opposition from the industry. We knew they'd be coming after the case, and lo and behold, they did.
The trick is that the EPA has exempted all animal waste that's returned to the ground as fertilizer. So we had to convince the judge that the way that these animals were being produced so much manure that there's no way it could fall into this exemption.
We waited for the right set of facts. Not only waited for them, but helped develop and catalyze the facts.
We showed the judge, look, you can watch the nitrates moving down the soil and hitting the groundwater. And the judge was convinced. This is the very first case to say that manure that is not managed appropriately is going to be considered a waste. It's going to be regulated, and any pollution that is caused by it has to be cleaned up. And that is what these communities want.
Public justice brought a lot of strength and knowledge and national influence to this. One of the things we got out of this case is that all of these sewage lagoons have to be lined. And then there has to be something that we have been asking for about 20 years, monitoring wells. And they have to provide us and the Department of Ecology and EPA with all of this information.
So we have provided a neutral system to provide clean water for hundreds of people in that area, paid for by the dairies, as long as the water is contaminated.
It will be interesting to see how the aquifer cleans up, how the drinking water cleans up, and how they operate.
What's encouraging to me is if we get an operation like this to start trying to do things right, that's going to make a nice big dent in dairy operations, I think.
What I really hope is that it teaches other mega dairies, it teaches other industrial dairies that it can be done. We go to trial on August 9th on a follow-up case in Helendale, California. We're going to bring justice to this community too.